Let's say we're looking at creating a vendor who designed the code to set a bit at a particular index within an array of bits. To begin, we start in the valley and drill down through the layer, data, the verb, add, the title, to-bit array, and in this case the variation is default, and then we select the suite, x64. Then we hit the little plus button here to the left. We're then prompted to specify a tentative contract price, and this is just to let other people who are browsing the valley know what rough price they can expect this supplier to be when the time comes for us to publish our vendor. So I'm just going to put in our default 100 Satoshi for the moment. We can always change this later. We're immediately taken to our portfolio, which has created a new slot for this classification. To begin expressing a vendor for this classification, we hit the little plus button here next to expression. Now we're taken to our vendor principal, which has kindly imported the DOFs for the new vendor we're going to express. We can see the title of the vendor we're currently expressing is up here, and its associated DOFs are listed underneath. Now we're currently looking at the communications window of the vendor principal. We'll check out the processing window in a moment. And down here we have two panels, one for suppliers and one for committees. Now we've not yet automated the contracting of any suppliers, so this panel is currently, understandably, empty. But the committees panel already has 5 partially organised committees created for us by the principal, one committee for each DOF. So this add DOF has a committee here, and the index DOF has a committee here, and so on. Now when our vendor, the add to bit array, is contracted, it will present these 5 DOFs to its client. You can see that the first 3 DOFs have the role of rep, and the last 2 have the role of chair. So where a DOF is a rep, it essentially means that we, the vendor, are requesting that information or access to that committee so that we can obtain that information. It means the chair is above us, and it could be the client or it could be one of our peers that the client puts us in touch with. So over in the committees that have been created for us, you can see that the client, essentially someone above us, is the automatic chair in the first 3. And in the last 2, the client is the automatic rep, because the chair, as far as they're concerned, is below them. And it could be us, or it could be one of our suppliers. So once we have some actual suppliers, we can add their DOFs to these committees, or we can also add ourselves, our vendor, to the committee, if we want it to negotiate and gain access to the resulting terms at its runtime. If we jump over to the processing window, we can see a noun event has already been created for us, the when contract accepted event. This left panel contains all the nouns that our vendor has access to as we express our requirements, and the right panel is where we organise these nouns so that certain events trigger certain actions and so that certain values are provided to the correct parties. Anything we want to trigger as soon as our own vendor itself accepts a contract should be organised over here under the when contract accepted source event. Now you'll notice that I keep saying automate the contracting of or automate the joining of, and the reason for this is probably obvious, but I do want to point it out anyway. When we subcontract a supplier here or join a committee there, we aren't actually doing these things yet. The vendor principal is capturing our supplier and committee requirements in a WYSIWYG fashion. So in order to capture these requirements for which suppliers we want our vendor to contract and which committees we want our vendor to join, the principal makes it look like we're actually contracting and actually joining. The contracting of suppliers, the organising and joining of committees, are actions that our vendor will carry out at its runtime, which is design time of an overall build, automatically. When these actions occur and based on what information is dictated by our processing.